better than the existing traffic light at Morris and Spring is because of the traffic volume that's actually going through there. This intersection today basically has three competing directions that all have very high volumes. The proposed intersection at Spring and basically Spring Place has very low volumes in comparison. So you could keep the green light on Spring Street basically almost consistent throughout most of the day. And basically in the evening rush hour, you could flush out a couple of those left turns every cycle coming from the site and out. So in terms of the way those traffic signals work, again, you're working on a fixed level of time. So whether you have a 90-second cycle, you have 90 seconds to serve all the traffic at Spring and Morris at this intersection. 90 seconds isn't really enough time to provide everyone equal opportunity out. At the intersection of Spring Street and relocated Spring Place, that 90 seconds is more than enough because that volume is so much less.
We'll go from front to back. Rebecca, you?
Oh, thanks. Hi, Rebecca Feldman, 19 Olmsted Road. I was thinking, watching this, that after 3 years on the planning board and 8 years sitting where you're sitting, I used to come to night meetings and people would say, why are you stressing? Is what you're deciding going to matter in 50 years? And I was like, yeah, it will. And I think everybody here is here because they care about what Morristown's like 50 years from now. This is really exciting. A front yard parking lot in a downtown makes no sense. For years we worked on the problem of traffic at Spring and Speedwell, and I kept saying, well, when I come back up Spring at Morris, it's just as bad. Why are we not looking at that? So solving this problem is really important. At the same time, what I've heard, and lately I've been bike commuting and biking through town probably at least 3 mornings or evenings a week. Which has given me a new appreciation for how good it is to have traffic lights that stop traffic, because you can come down Pine and on a bike get onto Morris, because for a little while there's no cars coming. With this constant traffic flow, that will no longer be the case, but that might be a price that's really worth paying when you look at the overall benefit. One of the things I've started doing is sitting in front of the project that we all worked on, the Highlands Transit Village, at Godfather's. You can go to Cambridge and get a bottle of wine or some really great beer, get some pizza at Godfather's and sit there, and people are coming from everywhere to bask in the sun and be out on those patios. What I love about this plan is it creates lots more of that space. However, how are people going to get there? We want that to be accessible not just to people who work in those buildings that can walk downstairs, but to people who are going to need to cross the street from Lot 10 or from wherever they live in town, or wherever they happen to be up on South Street and come now downtown to go out to dinner or shop or whatever you make available there. I heard it said that this roundabout will make traffic flow better, but it was acknowledged that if we include the signals that would really stop the cars so people can definitely cross, that's going to detract from those benefits. I also heard it said we might create ramps so bikes could go up on the sidewalk. Well, I can tell you that if you're biking on Morris Street and you want to get out to Marty's on Speedwell for a Saturday morning shop ride, or because you live there, right, or want to do business on Speedwell, you don't go down Spring because you've got to go down, hit these lights, and even if you're in great shape, it's hard to get back up to CVS, and then you're in a line of cars. So the topography is against it. What a cyclist does when they're heading west, and hopefully we'll have more of them, is they take Morris Street and they continue up Morris to the green and then go right on Speedwell where it's relatively level and there's less traffic. What I see happening here is that if you were on the sidewalk, you couldn't even do that because you'd have to somehow also cross in the crosswalk again. So now I work at Verizon for smart communities, and this morning I was in an all-day training about mobility and the future of mobility, and particularly micro-mobility in cities and not just big cities. And that's bike share, and it's those electric scooters, and they're everywhere. I love the idea of people being out of their cars. We've got all these apartments and all these offices. You don't need a car here, but you do need a bike, and you might want a scooter. We really have to know when you add all of those kinds of users to this environment, because you've created this great place that people want to be, how the hell is it going to work? Because I'm not so sure if you're doing this to improve car traffic, don't set that expectation. We want a place, I think we want a place 50 years from now that everybody wants to be, whether they can afford a car, need a car, want a car, or whether they're on foot. So I think this is going in a great direction, but I don't know that we're there yet, and I definitely haven't heard the numbers to state what the current accident history is here. Because we see a lot of serious accidents around Morristown, but I don't recall seeing those ambulances at this corner very often, partly because it's a total traffic fail for getting people through. But lives are being saved, so maybe that's good. And I didn't hear anything about pedestrian counts or current counts of bicycles on the sidewalk. We talked about losing the affordable retail, but folks still live here, they still push their strollers, ride their bikes, and I can tell you I get a lot of looks from people who have their bikes on the sidewalk when I'm in the road, going like, what is wrong with that woman? So you have to decide where you want us to be and make it safe for us to be there. So, good luck to you guys, this is a really big decision, but I trust you.
Hello, Sumner Parker, 62 Washington Avenue in Morristown. I know we've talked a lot about traffic, but I just had a couple more comments on that. One of the comments before was that there would be no weaving in the traffic roundabout, and that was one of the advantages. But as I look at the diagram that's up there now, if you're coming down Morris from the lower left into the roundabout, and you want to go onto Spring Street to the upper left, you have to cross over one lane in order to get there.
Come in this lane,
Right, so
you just keep following on the inside.
okay, if somebody's already in the intersection,
So you need, so the
you have to wait till both lanes are clear, in other words.
You wouldn't change lanes there. The exterior lanes are kind of exit lanes, and you go through it
Okay.
once, and you sort of understand that.
So you have to wait till both lanes are clear before you can enter the roundabout.
If you would approach,
If you were coming in, again, in terms of all the actual volumes at this intersection, the one with the least volume is actually the Mars coming from the green to Spring Street, because I think
Okay.
most people work themselves through the green and speed go in that direction. But there are some people that make that movement.
Right.
But yes, you would have to basically wait for the gap in traffic
For
for
both
both
lanes
lanes
to
as
be
you come
clear.
around, if you're on the left lane approach.
Okay, then my other comment is there's going to be a lot of traffic coming down out of the office complex, turning right on Morris Street and going around. They have to cross, they'll enter into the right lane, they have to get in the left lane then to go around and make their U-turn. And as they're going, as all that heavy traffic is making the U-turn around, it's locking out the roundabout and locking out other cars from entering the roundabout.
So what we had done as part of our analysis, because that movement you're referring to could be done two ways. You could come out on Morris, go to the roundabout and U-turn yourself back, or you could go out and the new Spring Place, make a left turn and come that direction.
Right.
So what we actually did is we did a number, this was based on some comments made by council's traffic engineers. We looked at different percentages. What happens if 75% of people decide to do the U-turn? What happens if 75% of people use the intersection at Spring Place to kind of go back to 287? So we basically looked at all those different options and ran the analysis many different ways to make sure that it worked during all those different mechanisms. So
Okay, so
but you're again, the one I would say good thing is that the majority of these people that are coming from this site are office workers. Office workers, because they make the same commute basically every single day, learn very quickly what route they prefer. So if you're someone who leaves at, let's say you're leaving work at 9 o'clock, you're working late, you probably would come out the Morris Street approach because there's going to be less traffic there and do the U-turn approach. If you're leaving at 5:30, you're probably coming out the signal on Spring Place because that's probably the easiest movement at that
You
time.
have to wait for the signal.
Right.
Okay, and then my final comment is you talked about the majority of people going north or south on 287. I live on the eastern side of Morristown, and we already have a traffic problem with people coming up Morris Avenue to go down to 24 if they want to go towards the city, or, take 24 to 78, or just keep going out Morris and Columbia.
Yeah,
It
so.
seems like a very low percentage of people going that direction.
So to determine which routes they would take, we actually, some of the information that Phil presented early on in terms of the cell phone data that was collected as part of the mobility study, which basically looked at people that are coming into town or leaving town during rush hour, which routes are they taking? So basically what they created was different, I would call it type of virtual gates. So they're able to tell, based on cell phone data, someone that went through this intersection and they left in the morning, so most likely a commuter, which highway did they take in the area? So that's basically one of the ways that we were able to determine what are the likely routes for people that are coming to or from this office building.
But that cell phone data didn't include people at this office.
But it included workers such as people in Headquarters Plaza. So it included basically similar.
Existing
commuting
workers,
patterns.
but it didn't add the people that will be working here.
Right,
We
basically,
assume that they're going to be going the same direction.
correct. We assume that basically an office worker going to Headquarters Plaza is, what routes they would take would be similar to workers in this building.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Over here first.
John Baldessari, 150 South Street. I own the Sterling Tavern. And I think a lot of my questions were answered tonight. I think it's a fantastic project. A lot of the people I work with bike from the other side of town. I think just this is going to really boost the local economy. Minimum wage is going up to $15 an hour, which is great. I think that's really important, needs to happen. There needs to just be a boost in daytime retail. We do still struggle a little bit there. I think this is going to bring that in for sure. As far as roundabouts go, I think it's a great idea. I'm in a unique opportunity where I get to go over to Europe and look at wine to purchase and things like that. These are all over the place and they do really work. A lot of people think of the roundabout like the one down the shore. This is not like that at all. These really do work. So thank you for bringing this project. I think it's an awesome, great idea. So thank you.
Well, his hand went up first on the left. Yes.
So I changed what I was going to say completely. My name's Doug Greenberger, 18 Catano Avenue. I'm a property owner, a resident. My family's been here for 5 generations. I've just been around Morristown for 60-odd years. Started as a delivery boy when I was about 8. I think this is incredible. It's ultimately going to be experienced at the human scale, which is at the sidewalk. Now 45 or 50 feet wide, instead of the 3 that we have now. I wasn't going to say anything about the roundabout, but it's analogous to fluid dynamics, where the fluid are cars and they never stop, and it's going to be empty all the time, empty. And I got $5 in a roast beef sandwich that says that. You know where to find me. If it's wrong, it's 18 Catano Avenue, mezzanine on the left. This project is going to provide, a real boost to the small retailers that gentleman from the Sterling Tavern is one. It's been, my business for the last 20 years to find, incubate, and support, local people who want to be in business on that corner when, they couldn't find things elsewhere. The artist baker, the dog hair cutter, Fancy Pet, the new jewelry store that just moved in, the Fig and Lily Garden, Greenpoint Juicery, et cetera, et cetera. This will provide a really necessary boost to their livelihood. Great architecture attracts great people. These facades are articulated in a way I haven't seen around Morristown. The materials are really good. It's positioned in a way that the experience on the ground is for everybody. And I don't know who the retailers are going to be. Maybe they'll be some of the ones that are there now. Maybe they won't. This is progress. A lot of the traffic in Morristown, and what was the percentage that passes through? 39%? 39? So if anybody here thinks that's going to get less, you might want to think again. And they're building houses in Mendham, they're building houses in Harding, they're building houses everywhere. And that's pass-through traffic. I guarantee you that roundabout's gonna make a difference. Build it.
Then put a roast beef sandwich on it, buy it.
Tom Ross, 30 Washington Place, Superintendent of Morristown National Historical Park, and wanted to say it's a very exciting project. The concern or the comment I wanted to make was regarding pedestrian access and bicycle access as well. We've already heard from at least a couple of people who mentioned that as a concern, and I think this is a great opportunity. There's a lot of development now that's making its way down Morris, and there's a number of other projects. And I think it's important that the town start looking at those projects more holistically, heading down towards 287, to ensure that the opportunity is there, to look at the potential opportunities for the pedestrian access, for bicycle access. As you know, we move forward, as has been said, e-bikes, bike shares, those types of things are a matter of time before we start seeing that come to this area, become more popular. It's also a quality of life issue, I think, and it provides an opportunity. When you start to see that, you know, you've got 7% entry trips, 30% coming in, 30% going out. I think if you start to work those types of pieces into these developments at a higher level, or at the highest level possible, that you could be potentially cutting back on some of this vehicular traffic and making the town itself more attractive for the office workers, et cetera, to live in town and to use these other alternative modes of transportation. You also have the train station, obviously, transit-oriented development opportunities, and of course, from my perspective, in essentially the tourism industry, getting visitors to park a vehicle and to walk from, say, Washington's headquarters into town is a real goal of ours. Right now, it's not that easy. It's formidable. But I think there's a grand opportunity here as the development starts moving towards 287 to work on that. And of course, the bike plans of the past, I think, you know, as was said by the town planner, you know, where do they connect? I think we can look at that. There is connectivity. There's been a lot of improvements to the Patriots Path on Spring Street. There's a Patriots Path that runs by Acorn Hall. You also have the traction line. I think, in looking at it holistically, I think there's some great opportunities to start thinking how we can connect these pieces, connect through the downtown, by the Green, down Western Avenue to Jockey Hollow. I think there's some great opportunity here to really build on alternative transportation through town and to really look at how we handle our streetscaping. I did hear some good things, the shallows, the opportunities there, the concern about safety with the bikes around that roundabout, and I think we're sort of heading in the right path, but I think you want to look at things holistically.
Thank you.
There was a gentleman who talked about the flavor,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, right, Barbara Gross, 71 Red here, that talked about the flavor and the mixed demographics and all, and that health food store, for instance, there are apartments there that are counting on that as a supermarket, and the rents that will end up being charged there are going to be higher, and I appreciate it, it should be, it's a whole different kind of feel, but somewhere, I don't know what happens to people who've been counting on that for their shopping, or something like a Burger King that has a drive-through. I don't know how they, accommodate it. So if there's some way this can be considered, or some kind of market, not a Whole Foods level, but some kind of market that helps all the apartments that are going to be part of that, I think that should be considered as well.
Thank you. Okay, sure you can come forward.
is JP Parmigiani, 28 Clinton Place in Morristown, from Morristown, born and raised. I am extremely excited about this project. I know that we're all worried about the traffic, and I actually got stuck in traffic on my way here, but that's no surprise. But I have to voice how great I think this will be overall, and I want to point out a few things, actually. So one is what this actually is, which is an opportunity to bring more top talent into town. And I know that that also has a multiplication effect on the town. So we've been talking about someone like Deloitte coming in and having an office here. Now, Deloitte does a lot of pro bono work, as do any of the major consulting companies. So for nonprofits that are based in Morristown, for startups that are in Morristown, for small businesses, this is a huge opportunity for them to get support that is, top of the line without having to necessarily pay for it. And this is something that was within all of the big four consulting firms' obligations as part of their CSR to perform. And so I think that's really important. The second thing is just looking at a large picture of New Jersey and development in New Jersey. When we're talking about redevelopment in New Jersey and continuing development in New Jersey, it's really important that we're developing our downtowns vertically as opposed to cutting down more of the woods, developing more and more land at the cost of the environment. And this spot in particular, because it's so close to the train station, which I know some people doubt whether or not people will use it, I think is really relevant for and appropriate for this kind of development. The fact is that firms like Deloitte or whoever else might be stationed there, they're bringing people back and forth to the city, and you can only do that reliably through the train. People who are going to the town after work for drinks and to be at the restaurants are going to be walking, they're not going to be taking their cars. And I think that's also important to note. And then I just wanted to point out as well a few things. Obviously there are concerned citizens about the local businesses that were there. So I was really glad to hear that there was consideration over inviting the local businesses to be able to be a part of the new development through the retail space there. I'm hoping that new tenants can also, so some of the office tenants could also be helpful to the businesses in other ways. But I just think that with the opportunity to bring all this talent in, I think it's up to the town to really create the opportunity to leverage it for the community. And so in a sense, it can be a success or a failure based on some of the follow-up that we all do. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes.
My name is Neil Goldrosen. I own Pluck You Chicken. Some of you faces look very familiar. You're customers of mine. I have to say there's been some things that aren't 100% true. No one's really come to us to say about relocation. Someone did say it before, if we move, we're not coming back. Or if we move to another location in town, I don't want to leave town. I don't think anybody, any of my other restaurateurs in the audience want to leave town either, but we have a unique space. We have parking. There's no other free parking in town. Nobody wants to pay $5 for parking to get a slice of pizza or 5 buffalo wings. It doesn't make any sense. We have a unique mix of stores that people love. We've all been there for 25, 30 years. You're going to lose all that. It's almost too much. We built a lot around town. I've been here 26 years. The traffic has gotten 3 times, 4 times as worse over the years. Granted, there's less vacancies, which is great, but it creates that traffic which everyone's talking about. If that traffic circle, that roundabout's going to make a difference, let's put that in, let's leave our mall. Spring Street, to me, is a part that needs to to be looked at, because there's so many vacant buildings which make the town look awful. Let's put some townhomes, let's juice it up a little bit. Spring Place, we could incorporate that into something useful, maybe egress, ingress of our mall. If anyone's ever been to our mall, at lunchtime or dinner, you can't get a spot. Why? It's free parking. People at Godfather's, they park in our lot. And the reason why they're sitting there in front eating their snacks, because they're parking right there. They're not parking in the lot behind it. You're going to change the whole flavor of the town. It kind of gives Morristown a unique perspective. You have your business, you have your green, you have your expensive restaurants, and then you have us, which is affordability, easy access, free parking, and I just think, you know, on top of that, our landlord, he owns a lot in town. He's creating a monopoly. The rents are going to go up. You know, if we stay somehow, we're going to have to increase prices. You know, our rent's going to probably, you know, I don't want to say double, but it'll be increased a lot. There's no promise we're even going to be back in that spot. Even if we go out of business for 2 or 3 years, because I think that's probably how long it might take to get us back in there. I don't know what I'll do for 3 years. I have 25 employees. What are they going to do? The mall employs 150 people. All, you know, 7-Eleven, Panera, and all in between. There's a lot of people that are not going to have jobs. I just think, you know, enough is enough. Do the parts that are vacant, leave our mall alone. That's all I have to say.
Good evening, my name is John Rosenhauser at 31 South Passaic, Chatham Borough, New Jersey. I was born and until recently lived in Morristown, New Jersey. I work 2 jobs in and around Morristown. Traffic I've seen become an increasing problem over the years as I've lived here. I think anything that'll move Morristown forward, get rid of some of the traffic problems that we have, keeping in mind future projects that would down the road even increase more driving around town, make it a little more easier, would be great for the town. I'd like to say that I think that we should definitely move this town forward, and I think that's what you guys have in mind, and I just want to say thank you for what you're trying to do for the town.
Thank you. All right, before we continue with public comments, are there any members of the public that want to address the council or, you know, other than what we've already heard in regards to the
Morristown.